And these sidewalk sale days, the sidewalks were so crowded you could hardly find the sidewalk. There were so many people coming. And as Thora mentioned, the dime stores, those were favorites of mine also. Maybe that's all I'll tell you now.
All right, well, thank you very much. Let me just rewind this cord. It's getting a little dramatic here. I know, there was a gentleman over here. You wanted to? Okay, go ahead. Just hold that.
I have so many memories of Hammond, but just to capsulize some, my name is Bob Hirsch. My family had Rothschild and Hirsch clothing store, and then it evolved into Joe Hirsch clothing store. We were down where Citizens Federal in that block originally. Then we moved to the corner of Munich Court and Holman, and then to what was then the Hirsch building, which was next to where the courthouse was. I don't know how many remember the courthouse, which was on Rimback and Holman, and my family had built that. And when you talk about parades, I remember there was a twilight parade. Now, this was most recent, probably in the early 80s, which was put on by the Northern Indiana Art Association. And they had a they called it Mardi Gras, and they had it over in the Minus parking garage. And the parade went down Holman to State and ended up there, and it was a big gala event. But I have many wonderful memories of downtown Hammond and the merchants. You mentioned some. There was, of course, Rosalie, which was very big. There was Sam Sack Shoes, which was on Holman, and Milgram's, and Nagdeman's, which was down on the corner of Sibley, next to, well, it was a Walgreens. So I could go on and on. I happened to close Jack Fox because I bought them in 1975 or 73 and closed it in 75. So that was sort of the end of that era. And then I left downtown Hammond in 83 and opened a store in Munster on the corner of Holman and Ridge. And I have had stores in Woodmar. So I have many wonderful memories. I have my sister here who's visiting here from Avon Lake, Ohio, and we just found out about this event right today, so we came over, and maybe she'll introduce herself and say a few words, because she grew up in Hammond.
Okay. Hi. Well, I went by Babs Hirsch when I was growing up. My married name is Bass, so I go by Barbara Bass now. And I have a lot of fond memories, and the woman over there mentioned Violet Milne, and I took ballroom dancing from her with my friends, and graduated from Hammond High School. I can remember bonfires in front of Dietrich's after we would win a game, and went to the old Washington School before it was torn down, and Kenwood School, and of course, all the stores I remember, and going to the movie at the Holman Theater when my mother and dad would be working at the Joe Hirsch store. I was young, and so they would put me in the Holman Theater to watch the Westerns, and I always enjoyed that. Yeah. And I believe there was a popcorn store in between, yeah. And then going to the Parthenon Theater and the Paramount Theaters also. So there are many fond memories of Hammond.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Actually, I'm going to squeeze through here, and Dr. Pfeiffer wants to speak. Okay. And just hold this part. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I am Dr. Pfeiffer, who doesn't know anything about these things. Okay. Well, I was born back in 1923, so I'll be 76. I'm Dr. Geraldine Marie Pfeiffer. I wasn't born a doctor, but I became one. But I remember in Hammond, I was born in Hammond. My mother and my father were both born in Hammond. The grandparents came from Germany, and Andy Pfeiffer, my grandpa, he had a saloon on State Street with Mr. Hartman, and then he later on got the saloon. But we were never allowed in there. But the biggest thing I remember about Hammond when his dad would take us down to where Harrison Park was, and there weren't too many homes out there then. It was, even at that age there, they hadn't been built, and it seemed like it was so much beautiful, and everything was concentrated in downtown Hammond, where all the stores were that were coming out more and more. Because I know when I was in grade school, I went to St. Joe's Grade School in downtown Hammond, and I was born on Hoffman Street in Hammond. I have to walk all the way down Holman Avenue to St. Joe's and see all the stores there. And the only time we could spend money, we'd go through looking around, but if we were real good, we would get a nickel a week for good behavior. And so then we could go out and spend maybe 10 cents a week, or if you were real lucky, 20 cents a month. And you could buy something then for that. But I remember the big action was, my dad was a member of the Post 16, and all the parades that were there, Pop was always in one, playing his bugle, and going down at those parades there, and I used to walk next to the parade at that age, and then later on I got older and we had the American Legion Juniors, and then I joined that. That was the proudest day in my life, and I could walk in a parade with that was just wonderful. And but the visiting in the stores and seeing a lot of the people that you knew that had worked in there. My mother worked at Minus's for a short time because Dad was real stinky with money, and my mom wanted some extra money, so she got a job there and worked for a little bit until she got what she wanted, and then she quit. But all those people that were absolutely wonderful in downtown Hammond, and you could walk out there, and later on when I was in high school, it was Catholic Central High School then, and I'd take my bicycle, and that was my travel. And you could park it down in downtown Hammond, go into Walgreens or Minus's or wherever you wanted to go, and you wouldn't have to worry about anybody swiping. It was there when you came out. And that was a marvelous thing. And then being able to go on the trains, on the good old trains, and going to in Chicago to the nice. It was the South Shore. No, I didn't know that. We didn't go on the South Shore. We took the train. All the way down. Yeah, all the way down, and it'll leave us off. And
downtown Hammond all through the 40s and 50s. I was all right. Marguerite Jurgens Elkins, okay? My father was a businessman in Hammond, electrical contractor, Jurgens Electric, and I went to school at Washington and Hammond High School, and I worked for a law firm downtown at the time of World War II.
Which lawyer did you work for?
Conroy and Glendenning. And Joe Conroy was a famous criminal lawyer, and then when he passed away, I worked for his partner, and I got to meet a lot of well-known lawyers and business people through the office because people would come in and out. And I was always downtown during the week, so we would have lunch at the local restaurants, and I remember Brejos Coffee Shop and the LaSalle Grill, and of course, Goldblatt's, the dime stores, and so forth. Sometimes we would buy our lunch, girlfriends and I. Sometimes we would take our lunch with us, and there was even a time that we rented a taxi that would take us home for lunch and bring us back for a reasonable fee. Because I had several friends and a sister working downtown, and we all took this taxi home and came back. We had an hour for lunch, but most of the time we were right down there, and I did most of my shopping on the lunch hour, so I was very familiar with all the shops there, and it was just part of life. And the theaters, the Paramount, the Parthenon, the Orpheum. When we were small children, we all went to the movies to get our entertainment because there was no television, and it was just an important part of our life, being in downtown Hammond. So that's about it. Did you want to add anything to it?
Well, the only thing I remember way back when I was born here in 17, so I'm quite old now. I've been here all my life between here and Munster. But I don't know if you realize you're sitting on an area where the most beautiful theater once was located, the State Theater.
The State Theater. What theater?
The State Theater.
The State Theater.
This is right the area where it was
This
located.
is the grounds at the State Theater, yeah. The library was closed.
Well, I was here at the time. I must have been 7, 8 years old when they blew it up. And
It was a beautiful theater,
I
yeah.
have a question for some of the older patrons. Do you anybody know or can tell me anything about the Glamour Costume Shop on 105 State Street? The lady just passed away about 2 months ago. I'm sure the place has an interesting history. They have very, very unique costumes in there. And I used to shop in there once in a while. Now, the old lady just died about 2 months ago. And then we did have a Wayne's Trick Shop. But they certainly didn't have the costumes, the stuffed paper mache heads that this woman had in her costume shop. Does anybody know anything about it? It's 105 State Street. It's called the Glamour, Glamoure Costume Shop.
Well, in her heyday, she sold more outfits to dancers from Calumet City and State.
I'm trying to get to you.
I knew you were here. They all went in there and got their clothes.
But she has like...
And then later on, they did a big job in Halloween costumes.
Well, that's
Anybody went there for Halloween.
I've already gotten some requests from people who want to speak.
Yeah.
I know you waved your hand, but she's also asked too, so I'm going to go here, then I will go to the lady back there, and then the lady over here.
Mr. and Mrs. Bolton.
Okay, we will, please follow that order.
I'm Mary Ann Alborn. My name was McMines. I went to Hammond High with Joe and I think Thelma. Yeah, and we went to Hammond High. I did, and I'll speak for Nolan because he's a strong, silent type, and I'm a gabber. So I'll tell you about him. We lived down the street from each other and never met because it's not a lot now, but when you're 10, when I was 10, he was 15, and then when I was of dating age, he was already in World War II for 3 years. Before that, he was a very well-known, famous basketball player, got a 4-year scholarship. He played for Tech. He went that way because he was going to be a coach. And his name